We may all be aware that there are several export incentives introduced by the federal government, and that only a few of them are being effectively pursued. In addition, we often experience counter-policy regulations and actions from some other ministry, departments, and agencies of government that are inimical to the export business growth in Nigeria. You can, in one breath, say you are promoting exports, and some of your ministry, departments, and agencies are directly, by their action and inaction, promoting the non-performance of exporting companies. So there's need for us to focus on those things that will allow us to move in the same direction, promote export, particularly now that we have the AFCFTA, which guarantees access to more than 53 other markets. If we say we cannot compete with Europe, Asia, and America, it will be unacceptable for us not to be able to compete within the continent.
Yeah, so let's settle on that a bit. And we have an individual who was at that meeting right here in the studio. He is the Executive Secretary of Manufacturers Association of Nigeria Export Promotion Group. Dr. Benedict Obiosa is right here in the studio. Dr. Obiosa, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us there. So we had your DG there talking at the meeting that you had last week, telling us that while there are incentives to promote non-oil exports, it does seem that implementation of those incentives have not been seen. Implementation hasn't been seen. And you are Executive Secretary to Manning, which is the body that's responsible, that's supposed to coordinate or collaborate with government on these policies. Tell us how much you have done, how much you think you have gained, and what else you need to do to promote non-oil exports, to create those incentives for non-oil exports in the country.
Thank you very much, Ini, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. As a matter of fact, like the DG said during our AGM, a lot needs to still be done by the federal government. Of course, they have some incentives that are paying to exporters, but as it is, the impact of these incentives tends to be lower because of other indicators that is affecting the manufacturing sector, especially the manufacturing exporters, in terms of high cost of production, infrastructural deficiency, insecurity, exchange rates, the growing and increasing depreciation of the naira. We saw these are also things that are affecting the manufacturers. Some kind of eroding the impact of the incentive that manufacturers are getting. Recently, you see what happened even during the MPC of September. You see now that the MPRO is now 27.5%, and by the time it dictate to transcend to the deposit money banks and other financial institutions, it could go as far as 30 to 35 or 33%.
Is there a way to create a buffer, which is the incentive we're talking about? Is there a way to create buffer for manufacturers at a time like this?
Yes. There's many things that government can do to do that. For example, let there be a different exchange rate for manufacturers. Let it be lower.
Who will pay for the difference? We're going to the way of subsidy again. We're fighting subsidy on PMS. Because if you say that, somebody has to bear the costs.
Okay, this is what is traditional globally. I can give you an example of Vietnam. I can give you an example of Australia. I can give you an example of China, India. I can give you an example of another island republic. I can even give you an example of our backyard here in South Africa. In South Africa, for example, local government, state government pays incentives. So there are different kind of incentives that government can put through for them to swing into action and bring about the requisite development. As a matter of fact, whatever we are passing through today, the economic hardship, it is because the manufacturers are not on a good state as they're supposed to be. It is the absence of that is, the presence of that, the prevalence of that is causing this economic hardship. coupled with the government policies affecting manufacturers. So what they really need to do is to, inject in some policies, incentive. I just gave an example of exchange rate. They can do the one of lending rate. Lending rate. In Colombia, in fact, incentives date back to like 1959. In Colombia, for example, when they wanted to support manufacturing sector, if you are importing anything that is an input to manufacturing, what they do is that they do it duty-free. So if it's now also, if it's for fixed assets for manufacturing, now if it's now for export, they also lower it. So they expanded like that, started growing like that. Even from the mid-60s in Colombia, they started doing that. So in South Africa, they do similar. Even supporting their entertainment, like our own Nollywood, they support it. If you go to what do you call this country, Vietnam. Vietnam goes as far as supporting those who want to build schools and a recreation center. I mean, centers where they can support people learning technical skills and things like that. Apart from the manufacturing, most of these countries have gone beyond, just exchange rates. So the lending rates goes down. They do a lot of waivers that helps the manufacturer to be competitive. There is ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme as ETLS for members manufacturing in Nigeria or ECOWAS that can export to any other ECOWAS country without paying duty. But when you manufacture under a very intense and high cost of production, even when you get to Ghana, you are not competitive. So governments can lower the cost of production. It can give him more incentives like lowering cost of production, exchange rate that I mentioned, cost of borrowing. Cost of borrowing today that I mentioned, they can lower that and it will help them a great deal. And they can also go as far as cost of energy. Energy is very, very wonderful today, you know that. It's wonderful today when you come to how much they are paying to produce. So that's why even some of the products that we're having in the market, they're reducing in size and we're still paying more. And as the Naira is depreciating, the dollar is going more. You buy ordinarily in economics, if the local currency is lower, it's devalued. When you export, you make more money. But it's not applicable now because as the dollar is going and we are importing more things abroad. If both of those things were being sourced locally, the raw material has been sourced locally, the machinery, spare parts have been sourced locally, beautiful. But now it's not the case. So it's not benefit the devaluation of the Naira or the high exchange rate as against the Naira is not beneficial to the manufacturers.
All right, these ideas, mostly they are not new. And have you had, your group is supposed to champion that, talk to NEPC and different government agencies on how to actually implement these intensive. How far have you gone with that? Okay,
it's a daytime job. So this we have been doing. Recently, I was in a meeting organized by Nigeria Export Promotion Council called Energize Export 3.0 series. So, and I was telling the council, thank God that the Palm Secretary and Investment was also seated, about Sodonura. I was telling the council and the whole world, because it was a live program and on live stream from NEPC, I was telling them about this. Even in January, I represented the DG of MAN, the retreat of NEPC in Badagry, and I was also talking to them about incentives. We do this every day. We go
What's
to
their response? What's the response?
They are working on the one that is within their purview, which is the export expansion grant.
I learned that's the only surviving incentive at this time.
Yes, but the payment is always very late. So before it comes, exporters have suffered so many things.
All right. Well, we'll stay on it, stay on the matter, and hopefully that will, push some things faster than they are. But thank you so much, Dr. Benedict Obiosa, the Executive Secretary, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria Export Promotion Group.
It's a pleasure for having me. Thank you very much.
For your time. Thank you. So other than just creating these products and services, customer relation, customer experience is also an important one, and that's from the crux of the meeting in Lagos. A group of individuals made up of heads of customer service departments of various organizations, producers of products and services, and even customers are here to emphasize the need to pay attention to customer experience as a way to retain patronage and generally keep demand on Nigerian products and services.
If, say for instance, I had a bad quality product, I may have the most amazing customer service or customer attendant. I may give you a chance. I would give you feedback. It's an opportunity for you to refine your product. But if consistently we're still getting bad quality products, my money is more valuable. I would move. What does that mean? I would move. I'll tell my friends. I'll tell my family.
Needless to say, without customers, there will be no business. However, there are other benefits to businesses.
There is an important cost savings when it comes to delivering customer service that is excellent in nature. You save significant amount of money marketing. You save significant amount of money forcing your customers to use your product, because by nature, they organically use the product based on the experience that they use, based on the experience that they have. So for us, there is a strong need for businesses to understand that the gap that exists between the product that any company offers and the experience that the customer feels when they use the product, that gap needs to be closed so that the customers see the product as the experience. There is no difference between the product and the experience. They have to be the same. And that is when customer experience becomes an engine of growth for the company.
Customer satisfaction is an integral part of any organization and should not be treated lightly. The message at this meeting. Yeah, customer service and the real sector there in focus. Now let's move back to the oil and gas sector. First of all, Channels Television commiserates with the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mr. Mele Kyari, on the loss of his daughter, who passed away on Friday. May her soul rest in perfect peace. And in spite of this, we see Mr. Kyari has been speaking to the issue of subsidy on PMS. That's the latest issue from the oil and gas in Nigeria. The need for a fully deregulated oil and gas sector in Nigeria. He was speaking to a group of journalists in Abuja.